What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to discuss arrays in Java. An array is a collection of values of the same data type. As a beginner, it might be helpful to think of an array as a variable that can store more than one value. It's a little more complicated than that, but that might be a good way to think of it. Let me give you a demonstration. Suppose we have a string variable, a fruit. Pick a fruit. I will pick an apple. And then, we can print our variable of fruit, which would give me an apple. Well, what if I told you that this variable can store more than one value if we were to turn it into an array? Here's how. After the data type of our variable, add a set of straight brackets. Enclose any values within a set of curly braces. And there we go. We now have an array. We have an array of strings. This array can store more than one value, but they all have to be the same data type. In this case, strings. Let's add some more fruit. Let's add an orange, a banana, and a coconut. The name of your array should be descriptive of what it contains. Let's say fruits instead of fruit. Technically, in the English language, fruit would still be plural, but by adding an S, it's more descriptive that it contains more than one value. I know, English is a weird language at times. If I was to print my array of fruits, here's the result. Well, we get a memory address. Arrays fall under the category of a reference data type. If we access the name of our array, we're given a memory address. Each value within an array is known as an element. To access an element, we have to indicate an index number. After our array name, let's add a set of straight brackets, and then an index number. As is the case with many things in programming, to access the first of something, it usually has an index of 0. That applies to arrays as well. Print our array of fruits at index of 0. That's going to give you the first element of apple. For the next element, that would be an index of 1, which is orange. 2 would be banana. 3, coconut. If we attempt to access an element that doesn't exist, here's what happens. We get an exception. An exception is similar to an error. We have an array index out of bounds exception. This error message appears when you try and access an element that doesn't exist within an array. There is no index of 4. There's only 0, 1, 2, 3 in this case. Now, you do have the capability to change the value at a given index. To do so, we will take the name of our array, in this case fruits, specify an index using the set of straight brackets. At index of 0, let's set that equal to a string of pineapple, rather than apple. And then we'll print it. Print our array of fruits at index of 0. That would give us a pineapple, rather than an apple. By specifying the index, you can change any element. So fruits at index of 1 is now a pineapple. If at any time you need the length of an array, there's a built-in property for that. Let's say we have an integer variable of numOfFruits, meaning number of fruits. To access the length of an array, take our array, in this case fruits, use dot, which is the access modifier, then type length. Give me the length of my array of fruits. How many elements are within this array? Take a guess. 4. There's 4 elements within this array. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you ever need the length of an array, use the length property of your array. This will return an integer, which you can assign to a variable if you would like. If you need to print all of the elements of an array, you could use a for loop. Here's how. We'll declare a for loop. We'll create an index of I equal to 0. How many times do we want to iterate this loop? Let's continue as long as I is less than. We need to determine the length of this array. Well, we can use that length property that we discussed. Take our array of fruits, access the length property. this should return the number 4. Continue as long as I is less than 4. Then we will increment our index of I. So our for loop, in this case, is going to iterate 4 times. Let's perform a test run. If I was to print my array of fruits at index of 0, this is what happens exactly. It's going to print fruits at index 0 4 times. Apple, 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 apple. What I need is to print each element of this array. We could use our index of I for that, so replace 0 with I. I is going to change during each iteration of this loop. We're increasing it by 1 after we complete each cycle of the loop. So here's what happens now. We get all the elements of our array: apple, orange, banana, coconut. This index of I is going to increase after each cycle of this loop, each iteration. Alternatively, rather than printing each fruit on a new line, we could use print. Then after printing each element, we could add a space character. That would print each element and separate each with a space, if you so choose. There's something called an enhanced for loop. An enhanced for loop will cycle once for each element within an array. We'll start with a normal for loop. To create an enhanced for loop, within the set of parentheses, we will list the data type of each element of the array, in this case strings. Now we need a unique identifier for each element within this array. Since we're working with an array of fruits, let's say fruit, singular. Then we need a colon, then our array that we're iterating through, in this case fruits. Basically we're saying, for every fruit in my array of fruits, do this. Let's print each fruit. Fruit will be the current element we're cycling through. Here's what happens. We print each fruit. We have all the elements of our array of fruits: apple, orange, banana, coconut. This is an enhanced for loop, also known as a for each loop. It simplifies iterating through a collection, such as an array. If you need to sort your array, there's a built-in sort method. We're going to access the class of arrays. You may need to import it. Import class arrays. So make sure you have this import. Import java.util.Arrays. This class provides a lot of functionality when working with arrays. There's a built-in sort method. We're going to pass in our array of fruits to this method. We'll end up sorting the elements in this array alphabetically. Originally, the order of our elements was apple, orange, banana, coconut. But after sorting, they're now apple, banana, coconut, orange. They're all arranged alphabetically. Or if these were numbers, they would be arranged in ascending order. There's also a fill method with arrays. We can fill all the elements of an array with a given value. Again, we're going to access the arrays class, call the fill method, pass in our array, comma, the value we're going to fill the array with. Let's fill our array with pineapples. Then we'll use a for each loop to print each element. And here's our new array. We have filled our array of fruits with the value of pineapple. Alright everybody, that's an introduction to arrays. Think of an array as a variable, but it can store more than one value. And well everybody, those are arrays in Java.